She sent one message to the wrong number. He sent his entire empire to protect her. Tonight, you'll discover how a woman's broken heart and a single misdirected text dragged her into the orbit of a man who answers to no one. Adrian Voss. The kind of power that doesn't advertise itself. What starts as humiliation turns into obsession, then protection, then something far more dangerous than either of them planned. Stay with me until the end. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your city. I want to see how far this story travels. Now, let's begin. The rain hit the windows like it had a grudge. Lena Carter sat cross-legged on her couch, phone in one hand, wine glass in the other, and both were shaking. Not from the cold. Her apartment was stifling, the radiator hissing like it was angry at her too, but from the kind of rage that makes your vision blur at the edges. 3 years. 3 years with Marcus, and she'd found out the truth from an Instagram story. Not even a post, a story. Some girl she didn't know draped over him at a bar downtown, his hand on her waist like it belonged there. Like Lena's name had never existed in his mouth. She'd called him twice. No answer. Texted him 4 times, read receipts on, no reply. So now she was done being polite. Her best friend Riley had been on FaceTime for the last 20 minutes, pacing around her own apartment with a bottle of tequila and zero patience. Send it, Riley said, her face filling the screen. I'm serious, Lena. Stop being nice. He doesn't deserve nice. I don't know if I should. You absolutely should. Men like Marcus need to be humbled, and you're the one holding the hammer. Send the text. Lena looked down at her phone. She'd typed it out 3 times already, deleted it twice. But this version? This one felt right. Angry, but not unhinged. Honest, but sharp enough to cut. You're a coward and a liar, and I hope whoever she is knows what she's getting. Someone who can't even be bothered to end things like an adult. Don't contact me again. Lose my number. Her thumb hovered over the send button. Do it, Riley said. Before you chicken out. Lena took a breath, closed her eyes, and pressed send. The whoosh sound felt like a door slamming shut. There, she said, exhaling hard. Done. Riley raised her tequila bottle in a mock toast. To closure and not taking anyone's shit. Lena tried to smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. She felt hollow, like she'd just thrown something away that she couldn't get back, even if she didn't want it anymore. She set her phone down on the coffee table and reached for the wine bottle. The rain kept hammering the glass. Somewhere in the building, a door slammed, a dog barked. The radiator hissed louder. Her phone buzzed. Lena's stomach dropped. She stared at it like it might explode. Is that him? Riley asked, leaning closer to her screen. I don't know. Lena picked it up slowly, her heart doing something erratic in her chest. The name on the screen wasn't Marcus. It was a number she didn't recognize. Unknown. Number. I think you have the wrong person. Lena blinked, read it again. Oh my God, she whispered. What? Riley's voice sharpened. What happened? Lena's throat closed up. She opened her messages, scrolled up to the one she'd just sent, and saw the number. Not Marcus's. 1 digit off. No, she breathed. No, no, no. Lena, what? I sent it to the wrong number. There was a beat of silence. Then Riley started laughing. Not a polite laugh, full body, gasping, can't breathe laughter. It's not funny, Lena said, but her voice cracked. It's a little funny. Riley, I just called some random stranger a coward and a liar and told them to lose my number. Okay, Riley said, trying to get herself under control. Just text them back, apologize, say it was meant for someone else. They'll forget about it in 5 minutes. Lena's fingers were already moving. Lena, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That message wasn't meant for you. Wrong number. Please ignore it. She hit send and dropped the phone like it had burned her. There. Done. Crisis averted. See? Not that bad. But then her phone rang. Not a text. A call. From the same unknown number. Lena stared at it, frozen. Answer it, Riley said. Are you insane? Answer it. Maybe they just want to make sure you're okay or something. People don't call anymore, Riley. This is weird. Then let it go to voicemail. But Lena's thumb was already moving. She didn't know why. Maybe it was the wine. Maybe it was the adrenaline. Maybe it was because the last hour of her life had been so catastrophically bad that answering a call from a stranger felt like the least dangerous thing she could do. She pressed the green button and lifted the phone to her ear. Hello? The voice that answered was male, low, calm. The kind of voice that didn't ask questions. It gave answers. You sent me an interesting message. Lena's mouth went dry. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that. It was a mistake. A mistake, he repeated, like he was tasting the word. You called someone a coward and a liar by accident? No, I meant to send it, just not to you. There was a pause. She could hear something in the background, muffled voices, the hum of an engine. He was in a car. Who was it meant for? He asked. That's none of your business. Fair enough. Another pause. Are you safe? Lena blinked. What? Are you safe? He said again, slower this time. You sound upset. I'm fine. You don't sound fine. She didn't know what to say to that. Riley was staring at her through the phone screen, mouthing, "What's happening?" Look, Lena said, trying to keep her voice steady. I'm really sorry I bothered you. You can just delete the message and forget this ever happened. I could, he said, but I'm not going to. Her pulse spiked. Excuse me? You sent me a message that was meant for someone else, someone who clearly hurt you, and now you're trying to apologize to me for it. His tone didn't change, but something in it sharpened. That tells me more about you than the message did. What are you talking about? You apologize when you're not wrong. That's a habit, and habits come from somewhere. Lena felt her chest tighten. You don't know anything about me. No, he agreed. But I know what it sounds like when someone's been let down too many times. She should have hung up, she knew that, but she didn't. Who are you? She asked instead. Someone who doesn't usually answer wrong numbers. Then why did you answer mine? I don't know yet. The rain was still falling, the radiator was still hissing, but everything else in the room had gone quiet. What's your name? He asked. Lena? Lena, he repeated, and the way he said it made her skin prickle, like he was filing it away somewhere. I'm Adrian. Adrian what? Just Adrian. That's not how names work. It is for me. She heard Riley whispering something, but she couldn't focus on it. Her brain was too busy trying to figure out what the hell was happening. Why are you still on the phone? Lena asked. Why are you? She didn't have an answer for that. Adrian's voice softened just slightly. Get some sleep, Lena, and next time you want to tell someone off, double-check the number. Yeah, she said quietly. I will. Good night. He hung up before she could say anything else. Lena sat there staring at her phone, heart still racing. Riley's voice cut through the silence. What the hell just happened? I have no idea what's gone. Lena didn't sleep. She tried. She put her phone on the charger, turned off the lights, and stared at the ceiling for 2 hours while her brain replayed the conversation on a loop. Are you safe? You apologize when you're not wrong. I don't know yet. Who talks like that? Who calls a stranger and asks if they're safe? By the time the sun came up, she'd convinced herself it didn't matter. It was a weird moment, nothing more. She'd never hear from Adrian again, and in a week she'd forget his voice entirely. Except she didn't. At 9 a.m., her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Did you sleep? Lena sat up so fast she knocked her water glass off the nightstand. She stared at the message, read it 3 times, checked the number. It was him. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. She should ignore it. She should. But, Lena, not really. You? The reply came immediately. Adrian. No. Lena. Why not? Adrian. I don't sleep much. Lena. That's not healthy. Adrian. Neither is sending angry texts to strangers. Lena felt her mouth twitch. Was he joking? Lena. Touché. She set the phone down and went to make coffee. By the time she came back, there were 2 more messages. Adrian. How are you feeling? Adrian. About last night. Not in general. Lena sat on the edge of her bed, mug in hand, and thought about how to answer. Lena. Embarrassed, angry, tired. Adrian. At him or at yourself? Lena. Both. Adrian. Don't waste anger on yourself. He's not worth it, and neither is the guilt. She didn't know what to say to that, so she didn't say anything. A minute passed, then another. Adrian, I have to go, but I'll check in later. Lena, you don't have to do that. Adrian, I know. And that was it. Lena sat there, staring at her phone, feeling something she couldn't name. He did check in. That night, around 10 p.m., her phone buzzed. Adrian, better day? Lena, marginally. Adrian, that's something. And then because she couldn't help herself. Lena, why do you keep texting me? Adrian, I told you, I don't know yet. Lena, that's not an answer. Adrian, it's the only one I have. She should have been annoyed. She should have told him to stop. But instead she smiled. Lena, fine. But if you're going to keep checking in, I need to know something. Adrian, what? Lena, what do you do? There was a long pause. She watched the 3 dots appear and disappear twice before the message came through. Adrian, I solve problems. Lena, that's vague. Adrian, it's accurate. Lena, what kind of problems? Adrian, the kind people don't want to deal with themselves. Lena frowned. That was not comforting. Lena, are you in the Mafia or something? Adrian, no. Lena, that's exactly what someone in the Mafia would say. Adrian, if I were in the Mafia, I wouldn't be texting you at 10 p.m. on a Wednesday. Lena, fair point. Adrian, get some sleep, Lena. Lena, you first. Adrian, not likely. Lena, then I'm not either. Another pause. Adrian, stubborn. Lena, you have no idea. And for the first time since Marcus, Lena went to bed smiling. It became a routine. Every night, around the same time, Adrian would text. Sometimes it was just a question. How was your day? Or did you eat? And sometimes it turned into longer conversations that stretched past midnight. He never asked about Marcus, never pushed her to talk about anything she didn't want to, but he listened when she did. And when she didn't feel like talking, he'd send her something random, a photo of the city at night, a song he thought she'd like, a quote from a book he was reading. It was strange, comforting, dangerous in a way she couldn't explain. Riley thought she was insane. You're texting a man you've never met, she said one afternoon, sprawled across Lena's couch with a bag of chips. A man who refuses to tell you his last name or what he does for a living. He's been nice, Lena said. Serial killers are nice. That's how they get you. He's not a serial killer. How do you know? Because serial killers don't text you to make sure you ate lunch. Riley gave her a look. Lena, babe, I love you. But this is weird. I know. And you're still doing it. I know, Riley sighed. Just be careful, okay? I don't want to have to identify your body. You're so dramatic. And you're so trusting. But Lena wasn't trusting, not really. She knew this was strange. She knew she should stop. But every time she thought about blocking his number, her chest tightened and she couldn't bring herself to do it. Because the truth was, Adrian had become the best part of her day. And that scared her more than anything. 2 weeks after the first text, Lena was walking home from work when she felt it. The prickle at the back of her neck. The sense that someone was watching. She glanced over her shoulder. The street was crowded, people rushing past with umbrellas and shopping bags. No one was looking at her. But the feeling didn't go away. She picked up her pace, weaving through the crowd, her hand tightening around her purse strap. The subway station was 2 blocks away. She just had to make it there. Lena? She froze. That voice. She knew that voice. Marcus. She turned slowly, and there he was, standing in the middle of the sidewalk like he owned it. He looked the same, dark hair, easy smile, hands in his pockets like this was a casual run-in, and not the first time they'd seen each other since she'd found out he was a cheating piece of shit. What do you want? Lena said, her voice flat. To talk. We don't have anything to talk about. Come on, don't be like that. He stepped closer, and she stepped back. I just want 5 minutes. No? Lena, I said no. His smile faded. You're really going to make this difficult? You made it difficult when you decided to screw someone else. A few people glanced over, but no one stopped. This was the city. People minded their business. Marcus's jaw tightened. You know what? Fine. Be a bitch about it. But you're going to regret this. Am I? Yeah, you are. He reached for her arm. Lena jerked back, but he was faster. His fingers closed around her wrist, tight enough to hurt. Let go of me. Not until you listen. Let go. Or what? He said, leaning in. You going to call the cops? Tell them what? That your ex wanted to talk? Lena's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. I'm going to scream. No, you're not. Try me. For a second, they just stared at each other. Then Marcus's grip loosened, and he let go. You're not worth it, he muttered, stepping back. Lena didn't wait for him to change his mind. She turned and walked away, her legs shaking, her breath coming too fast. She didn't stop until she was on the subway, the doors closing behind her, the train pulling away from the station. Only then did she pull out her phone. Her hands were still shaking. She opened her messages. Lena, I need to tell you something. The reply came almost instantly. Adrian, what happened? Lena, my ex showed up. He grabbed me. I'm fine, but... She didn't get to finish. Her phone rang. She answered. Adrian, where are you? His voice was different, sharper, colder. On the subway. Heading home. Which train? The 6. What stop? Adrian, I'm fine. Lena, what stop? 28th Street. Stay on the train. Don't get off until you're home. Do you understand? Yes, but I'll take care of it. Take care of what? He hung up. Lena stared at her phone, her heart racing all over again. What the hell did that mean? She found out the next morning. Marcus sent her a text at 7 a.m. Marcus, what the fuck did you do? Lena frowned. Lena, what are you talking about? Marcus, 2 guys in suits showed up at my apartment last night, said if I ever came near you again, I'd regret it. Who did you tell? Lena's blood went cold. Lena, I didn't tell anyone. Marcus, bullshit, someone knows. And they scared the hell out of me. So if this is you trying to get revenge, congratulations. It worked. Lena didn't reply. She opened her messages with Adrian. Lena, what did you do? Adrian, made sure he won't bother you again. Lena, you sent people to his apartment? Adrian, yes. Lena, Adrian, you can't just do that. Adrian, I can, and I did. Lena, this is insane. Adrian, he put his hands on you. That's insane. Lena, I didn't ask you to. Adrian, you didn't have to. Lena sat on her bed, staring at the screen, her mind racing. This was wrong. This was terrifying. She should block his number, delete the messages, pretend this never happened. But instead she typed, Lena, thank you. And she meant it. That night Adrian called. I scared you, he said. A little, Lena admitted. I'm sorry. Are you? For scaring you, yes. For what I did, no. She didn't know what to say to that. Lena, Adrian said quietly, I'm not a good man. I don't do things the right way. But I meant what I said. He won't bother you again. Who are you? Lena whispered. There was a long silence. Someone who doesn't let go of things easily. That's not an answer. It's the only one you're going to get tonight. Lena closed her eyes. This is crazy. I know. I should stop talking to you. You should. But I'm not going to. I know that too. And somehow, that made it worse. Because Lena was starting to realize something she didn't want to admit. She wasn't scared of Adrian. She was scared of how much she didn't want him to disappear. The next week passed in a blur. Work, texts, calls. Adrian never asked to meet, and Lena didn't suggest it. It felt safer this way, like they existed in a space that couldn't touch the real world. But then, on a Friday night, her phone buzzed with a message that changed everything. Adrian, I need to see you. Lena's stomach flipped. Lena, why? Adrian, Because I'm tired of pretending I don't want to. Her hands were shaking. Lena. When? Adrian. Tomorrow, 8 p.m. I'll send a car. Lena. Adrian. Adrian. If you don't want to, say no. I won't be upset. Lena stared at the screen. She should say no. She knew she should. But instead, she typed, Lena. Okay. And just like that, everything shifted. Tomorrow, she'd meet the man who'd turned her life upside down with a single phone call. And she had no idea what would happen next. The car arrived at exactly 8 o'clock. Lena had been watching from her window for the last 20 minutes, telling herself she could still back out. She could text Adrian, say she'd changed her mind, pretend this whole thing had never happened. But when the black sedan pulled up to the curb, sleek, expensive, the kind of car that didn't belong on her street, she knew she wasn't going to. Her phone buzzed. Adrian. He's outside. Lena grabbed her jacket and left before she could overthink it. The driver was older, gray-haired, wearing a suit that probably cost more than her rent. He opened the door without a word, and Lena slid into the back seat, her heart hammering against her ribs. The interior smelled like leather and something else. Cologne, maybe. Clean and expensive. The kind of scent that lingered. The driver got in, adjusted the rearview mirror, and pulled away from the curb. Where are we going? Lena asked. Mr. Voss will meet you at the restaurant, he said. His voice was polite but distant, like he'd done this 1,000 times. What restaurant? You'll see. Lena sat back and tried to breathe. Her hands were clammy. She wiped them on her jeans and immediately regretted wearing jeans. She should have worn a dress. Or maybe not. Maybe jeans were fine. She had no idea what this was supposed to be. A date? A meeting? An intervention? Her phone buzzed again. Adrian. Relax. Lena stared at the message. How the hell did he know she wasn't relaxed? Lena. Are you watching me? Adrian. No, I just know you. Lena. You don't know me. Adrian. I know you're sitting in that car right now wondering if you made a mistake. I know you wiped your hands on your jeans twice in the last minute, and I know you're about to text Riley to tell her where you are. Lena's breath caught. She looked out the window, scanning the street. No one was following them. No one was watching. Lena. How? Adrian. Because that's what I would do. She didn't reply. She didn't know what to say. The car turned onto a wider street, then another. Buildings rose higher, lights brighter. They were heading downtown. 10 minutes later, the car stopped in front of a restaurant Lena had only seen in magazines. The kind of place where reservations were booked months in advance and the menu didn't list prices because if you had to ask, you couldn't afford it. The driver opened her door. Lena stepped out onto the sidewalk and immediately felt underdressed. A couple walked past her, the woman in a gown that shimmered under the streetlights, the man in a tuxedo. Lena looked down at her jeans and wanted to disappear. This way, Miss Carter. She turned. A hostess stood in the doorway, smiling like she'd been expecting her. Lena followed her inside. The restaurant was all dim lighting and soft music, the kind of place where conversations were kept low and every surface gleamed. The hostess led her through the main dining room, past tables filled with people who looked like they belonged there, and into a private room at the back. And there he was, Adrian Voss. He stood when she entered, and Lena's breath caught for the second time that night. He was taller than she'd imagined, broader, dark hair, dark eyes, a face that was all sharp angles and control. He wore a suit like it was armor, perfectly tailored, perfectly pressed. But it was the way he looked at her that made her forget how to breathe. Like she was the only person in the room, the only person in the world. Lena, he said, and his voice was exactly the same as it had been on the phone. Low, calm, dangerous. Hi, she managed. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. It wasn't a question, but it wasn't a command either. Just a statement, like he knew she would. Lena sat. Adrian did the same, and for a moment they just looked at each other. You wore jeans, he said. Lena flushed. You didn't tell me where we were going. Would it have changed what you wore? Probably. Good. I don't want you to change anything. She didn't know what to say to that. A waiter appeared, poured water, rattled off specials in a French accent Lena was pretty sure was fake. She didn't hear a word of it, She was too busy trying to figure out if this was real. Adrian ordered for both of them without asking what she wanted. Normally, that would have annoyed her, but right now she was grateful. She wasn't sure she could form a coherent sentence. When the waiter left, Adrian leaned back in his chair and studied her. "You're nervous," he said. "Wouldn't you be?" "No." "That's not comforting." His mouth twitched. Not quite a smile, but close. "You don't have to be nervous. I'm not going to hurt you." "That's also not comforting." "Why not?" "Because people who say that are usually the ones you should be worried about." This time he did smile. Small, fleeting, but real. "Fair point." Lena took a sip of water and tried to gather herself. "So, are you going to tell me who you are? Or are we going to keep playing this game where I know nothing and you know everything?" "I don't know everything." "You know more than I do. That's a low bar." She glared at him. "You sent people to Marcus's apartment. You knew I was nervous in the car. You got me a reservation at a restaurant I couldn't get into if I tried for a year. So yeah, you know more than I do." Adrian was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "What do you want to know?" "Everything." "That's a lot." "Start small then." He considered her. "I run a security company. We handle logistics, risk assessment, protection, mostly for people who can't afford mistakes." "Bodyguards?" "Among other things." "What other things?" "Things I can't talk about." Lena frowned. "So you're what, some kind of fixer?" "That's one word for it." "What's another word for it?" "Someone people call when the police can't help." A chill ran down her spine. "That sounds illegal." "It's not." "But it's close." "Close doesn't count." Lena set her water glass down. "You're not making this easier." "I'm not trying to." "Why not?" "Because if I make it easy, you'll stay. And I'm not sure that's a good idea." She blinked. "Then why did you ask me here?" Adrian leaned forward, his elbows on the table, his eyes locked on hers. "Because I'm selfish. Because I wanted to see if you were real or if I'd built you up in my head. And because I've spent 2 weeks thinking about you, and I needed to know if that was going to stop." Lena's heart was doing something erratic again. "And?" "It's not going to stop." So the air between them felt too thick, too charged. "Adrian, you should leave," he said quietly. "Right now, before this goes any further." "I don't want to leave." "You should." "But I don't." He stared at her, and for the first time since she'd walked in, he looked unsure. "You don't know what you're saying." "Yes, I do." "Lena, I sent you a text by mistake. You could have ignored it. You could have blocked me, but you didn't. You called me. You checked in. You sent people to make sure Marcus left me alone. So don't sit there and tell me I don't know what I'm doing. You started this." Adrian's jaw tightened. "I know." "Then don't tell me to leave." "I'm trying to do the right thing." "Since when do you care about doing the right thing?" He didn't answer. The waiter returned with their food. Lena didn't look at it. She couldn't look away from Adrian. When they were alone again, he said, "I'm not a good man, Lena." "You keep saying that." "Because it's true." "Then why do you keep acting like one?" "I'm not." "You are. You just don't want to admit it." Adrian shook his head. "You see what you want to see. And you hide what you don't want people to find." He didn't deny it. Lena picked up her fork, her hands steadier now. "So, are we going to eat? Or are we going to keep arguing about whether or not you're a good person?" Adrian's mouth twitched again. "We can do both." "Multitasking, I like it." And just like that, the tension broke. They ate. They talked. Adrian told her about his work in vague, frustrating terms that left her with more questions than answers. Lena told him about her job at the marketing firm, about Riley, about the apartment with the hissing radiator. He listened like every word mattered, like she mattered. And for the first time in weeks, Lena didn't feel like she was drowning. By the time they finished, it was past 11. The restaurant had emptied out, and the waiter had stopped hovering. Adrian paid the bill. She didn't even see him do it, and stood. "Come on," he said. "I'll take you home." They walked out together, and the car was already waiting. This time, Adrian got in with her. The driver pulled away from the curb, and Lena sat back, her shoulder brushing against Adrian's. He didn't move away. Neither did she. Thank you, she said quietly. For tonight. You don't have to thank me. I wanted to. He looked at her, and there was something in his eyes she couldn't read. You're different than I thought you'd be. Different how? Stronger. Lena laughed softly. I don't feel strong. You are. You just don't see it yet. She didn't know what to say to that. They rode in silence for a while. Then Adrian said, Lena. Yeah? If you want to stop this, whatever this is, now's the time. After tonight, it's going to be harder. She turned to look at him. Do you want to stop? No, then neither do I. Adrian's hand moved just slightly, and his fingers brushed against hers. It wasn't much, just a touch, but it felt like everything. When the car stopped in front of her building, Lena didn't want to leave, but she did. She opened the door, stepped out onto the sidewalk, and turned back. Adrian was watching her through the window. Good night, she said. Good night, Lena. The car pulled away, and Lena stood there watching until the taillights disappeared. Then she went inside, her heart still racing, and realized she was in so much deeper than she'd thought. The next morning, Riley showed up with coffee and suspicion. You didn't text me last night, she said, barging into Lena's apartment like she owned it. Which means either you're dead or something happened. Lena took the coffee. I'm not dead. So something happened. I met Adrian. Riley froze. You what? I met him last night. He sent a car. He sent a... Lena, are you insane? Probably. Riley set her coffee down and stared at her. Okay, start from the beginning, and don't leave anything out. So Lena told her. The restaurant, the conversation, the way Adrian looked at her like she was the only thing in the room that mattered. When she finished, Riley was quiet for a long moment. He's dangerous, she said finally. I know. And you don't care. I should, but I don't. Riley sighed. Lena, babe, I love you, but this is a bad idea. I know that too. And you're still going to do it. Yeah. Riley picked up her coffee and took a long drink. Okay, fine. But if he turns out to be a serial killer, I'm saying I told you so. Lena smiled. Deal. For the next week, Lena and Adrian fell into a new rhythm. He didn't ask to see her again, but he texted every day, called every night. And slowly, carefully, he let her in. He told her about his work. Still vague, still frustrating, but more than before. He told her about the people he protected, the risks he managed, the way his world worked in shades of gray instead of black and white. And Lena told him things she'd never told anyone. About her parents, who'd divorced when she was 12. About her older brother, who'd moved across the country and barely called. About the way she'd felt invisible for most of her life, like she was always waiting for someone to notice her. I notice you, Adrian said one night. I know. Does that scare you? A little? Good. It should. But it didn't. Not really. What scared her was how much she wanted him to keep noticing. On a Tuesday night, 2 weeks after their dinner, Lena was walking home from the subway when she felt it again, that prickle at the back of her neck. She glanced over her shoulder. The street was crowded, but no one was looking at her. She kept walking, faster now, her hand tight around her purse strap. A block later, she heard footsteps behind her, close, too close. She turned. Marcus. You've got to be kidding me, she said. He looked worse than the last time she'd seen him. His hair was a mess, his eyes bloodshot, and he smelled like he'd been drinking. I need to talk to you, he said. No. Lena, please. I said no. Just 5 minutes. I'm not doing this with you. She turned to walk away, but he grabbed her arm. Let go of me, she said, her voice sharp. Not until you listen. Let go! Lena! Someone stepped between them. Lena didn't see where he came from. 1 second, Marcus was holding her arm, and the next, a man in a dark suit had his hand wrapped around Marcus's wrist, squeezing hard enough to make him yelp. She said, let go, the man said. His voice was calm, almost polite. Marcus jerked his hand back, stumbling. Who the hell are you? Someone you don't want to meet twice. Marcus looked at Lena, then back at the man. and whatever he saw in that face made him go pale. "This is insane," Marcus muttered. "You're insane." "Walk away," the man said. Marcus did. Lena watched him disappear into the crowd, her heart pounding. The man in the suit turned to her. "Are you all right, Miss Carter?" She blinked. "How do you know my name?" "Mr. Voss sent me." And of course he did. "I'm fine," Lena said, "but thank you." The man nodded. "I'll make sure you get home safely. You don't have to." "Mr. Voss insists." Lena didn't argue. The man walked her to her building, waited until she was inside, and then disappeared. Lena went upstairs, locked the door, and pulled out her phone. "Lena, you're having me followed?" The reply came immediately. "Adrian, protected, not followed." "Lena, what's the difference?" "Adrian, one keeps you safe. The other invades your privacy." "Lena, and you think you're doing the first one?" "Adrian, I know I am." "Lena, Adrian." "Adrian." Marcus showed up again. "Did you think I was going to let that slide?" "Lena, you can't just have people watching me." "Adrian, I can. And I will." "Lena, this is crazy." "Adrian, I know." Lena sat on her bed, staring at the screen. She should be angry. She should tell him to back off, to stop, to leave her alone. But instead, she typed, "Lena, thank you." "Adrian, you don't have to thank me." "Lena, I know, but I am anyway." There was a pause. Then, "Adrian, I'm coming over." "Lena, what? When?" "Adrian, now." "Lena, Adrian, it's almost midnight." "Adrian, I don't care." And 20 minutes later, there was a knock on her door. Lena opened it, and there he was. Adrian in a suit that was slightly rumpled, his tie loosened, his hair just messy enough to make him look human. "Hi," she said. "Hi." They stood there staring at each other. "Can I come in?" he asked. Lena stepped aside. Adrian walked into her apartment, and it felt too small with him in it. Like he took up all the space and all the air. He turned to face her. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Don't lie to me." "I'm not." "Lena," she sighed. "I'm shaken, but I'm okay." Adrian's jaw tightened. "He's not going to bother you again." "You said that last time." "This time, I mean it." "What are you going to do?" "Whatever I have to." Lena's chest tightened. "Adrian," he put his hands on you. "Twice. That doesn't get a third chance. You can't just." "Yes, I can." She stared at him. "You're serious." "I'm always serious when it comes to you." Lena didn't know what to say to that. Adrian stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne, feel the heat coming off him. "I know this is too much," he said quietly. "I know I'm too much, but I can't help it. I tried to stay away, I tried to keep my distance, but I can't. Not when it comes to you." Lena's breath caught. "Adrian, tell me to leave," he said. "Tell me you don't want this and I'll go. I won't contact you again. I'll make sure you're safe, but I'll disappear. Just say the word." She looked up at him, at the man who'd turned her life upside down with a single phone call, the man who'd protected her, listened to her, seen her in a way no one else ever had. "I don't want you to leave," she whispered. Adrian's eyes darkened. "Lena, I don't want you to disappear. I don't want you to stay away. I want—" She didn't get to finish. Adrian kissed her. It wasn't gentle. It wasn't careful. It was raw and desperate, and everything she didn't know she needed. His hands were in her hair, pulling her closer, and she was reaching for him, holding on like he was the only solid thing in the world. When they finally broke apart, both of them breathing hard, Adrian rested his forehead against hers. "You're going to regret this," he said. "Maybe. Probably. I don't care." He pulled back just enough to look at her. "You should." "But I don't." Adrian's hand cupped her face, his thumb brushing against her cheek. "I'm not letting you go." "Good." "I mean it, Lena. Once this starts, I'm not walking away, and I'm not letting anyone else have you." She should have been scared. She knew that, but she wasn't. "Then don't let go," she said. And he didn't. Adrian stayed until sunrise. They didn't sleep. They talked instead, tangled up on her couch, with the radiator hissing in the background and the city waking up outside her window. He told her things he said he'd never told anyone, about the first job that went wrong, the man he'd lost because he'd made the wrong call, the way guilt had a weight that never really went away. Lena listened, her head on his chest, his hand in her hair, and realized she'd never felt safer in her life, which was insane because Adrian Voss was the least safe person she'd ever met. When the light started creeping through the blinds, he kissed her forehead and said he had to go. "Where?" she asked. "Work. It's Saturday." "My work doesn't take weekends off." She didn't want him to leave, but she didn't say that. She just walked him to the door and watched him button his shirt, straighten his tie, turn back into the man who ran a company that did things he couldn't talk about. "I'll see you tonight," he said. "You don't have to—" "I know. I'll see you anyway." And he did. That night, and the night after, and the night after that. It became routine so fast it scared her. Adrian showing up at her door after work, sometimes with food, sometimes with nothing but himself. They'd eat on her couch, talk until midnight, and then he'd leave, kissing her like it hurt to go. Riley called it a whirlwind. Lena called it terrifying, but she didn't want it to stop. 3 weeks in, Adrian took her to his place. It was a penthouse in a building Lena had walked past 100 times, but never imagined going inside. The kind of building with a doorman who wore white gloves and an elevator that required a key. The apartment was exactly what she expected. Sleek, modern, expensive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. A kitchen she was pretty sure had never been used. "You live here?" she asked, walking through the living room. "Technically." "What does that mean?" "It means I own it. I don't spend much time here." "Where do you spend your time?" "Working." Lena turned to look at him. "Do you ever stop?" "Not really." "That's not healthy." "Neither is getting involved with me, but here we are." She rolled her eyes. "You're impossible." "I know." He poured them both a drink, whiskey, neat, and they sat on the couch that was too clean to have ever been sat on before. "Can I ask you something?" Lena said. "You're going to anyway." "Why me?" Adrian frowned. "What do you mean?" "You could have anyone. Someone who fits into your world. Someone who understands what you do. So why me?" He was quiet for a moment, swirling the whiskey in his glass. Then he said, "Because you sent me a text that wasn't meant for me, and you were honest about it. Because you didn't try to impress me or play games. Because when I called, you didn't hang up." He looked at her. "And because when I told you to leave, you stayed." Lena's throat tightened. "That's a lot of weight to put on a wrong number." "I know." "What if I disappoint you?" "You won't." "You don't know that." "Yes, I do." She didn't know what to say to that, so she leaned over and kissed him instead. Adrian set his glass down, pulled her into his lap, and kissed her back like he'd been waiting for it all night. Things blurred after that. Hands, mouths, clothes ending up on the floor. Adrian carried her to the bedroom, a room that was just as pristine and untouched as the rest of the apartment, and laid her down on sheets that were too expensive to be real. "You sure about this?" he asked, his voice rough. "Are you?" "I've been sure since the first night I heard your voice." Lena pulled him down to her. "Then stop asking." And he did. Afterward, they lay tangled together, her head on his chest, his hand tracing patterns on her back. "I have to tell you something," Adrian said quietly. Lena's stomach dropped. "That sounds ominous." "It's not. It's just, there are things about my life that are going to be hard. People are going to notice you. They're going to ask questions. And some of them aren't going to be friendly." "Are you trying to scare me?" "I'm trying to be honest." She propped herself up on one elbow and looked at him. "Adrian, I know what I signed up for." "Do you?" "I'm not stupid. I know you're not a regular guy with a regular job. I know there are risks, but I'm still here." His hand cupped her face. "If anything ever happens, it won't." "If it does," he said, his voice firm, "you call me. No matter what. No matter where you are. You call me, and I'll come." "Okay." "I mean it, Lena." "I know. Okay. I will." He kissed her again, softer this time. "I'm not letting anything happen to you." "I know that too." But she didn't. Not really. Not yet. The next week, Adrian introduced her to his world. Not all of it, just the edges. A dinner with his associate, a man named Carter who was polite and professional and looked at Lena like he was assessing a threat. A meeting at his office where she sat in the waiting room and watched people in suits move with the kind of efficiency that came from fear or respect. She wasn't sure which. And then there was the gala. Adrian didn't ask if she wanted to go. He told her she was going, handed her a credit card, and said to buy whatever she needed. Lena stared at the card. I can't use this. Yes, you can. Adrian, Lena, you're going to be photographed, probably more than once. I need you to look like you belong there. I don't belong there. You do if you're with me. She wanted to argue, but the look on his face told her it wasn't up for debate. So she took Riley shopping. They ended up at a boutique that didn't have price tags on anything, which Lena decided was a bad sign. But Riley was in heaven, pulling dresses off racks and shoving them at Lena like they were on a game show. Try this one. It's too much. Try it anyway. Lena did. And when she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. The dress was deep blue, almost black, with a neckline that was just low enough to be dangerous and a slit that ran up her thigh. It fit like it had been made for her. Oh my God, Riley said. That's the one. It's too expensive. He gave you a credit card with no limit. Use it. Riley. Lena, you're going to a gala with a man who probably owns half the city. You need to look like you're not intimidated by it. I'm intimidated by it. Then fake it. That's what the dress is for. Lena bought the dress. She also bought shoes that made her feet hurt just looking at them, and Riley forced her to get her hair and makeup done the day of the event. By the time Adrian's car picked her up, Lena felt like she was wearing a costume. But when Adrian saw her, the look on his face made it worth it. He didn't say anything at first, just stared at her like he'd forgotten how to speak. Is it too much? Lena asked, suddenly self-conscious. No, he said, his voice rough. It's perfect. You have to say that. I don't have to say anything. He stepped closer, his hand sliding around her waist. You look incredible. Lena felt her cheeks flush. You clean up pretty well yourself. He was in a tuxedo, because of course he was, and he looked like he'd been born in it. They took his car, not the sedan, but something lower, faster, the kind of car that made people turn their heads. Lena felt like she was in a movie. The gala was held at a museum downtown, the kind of place with marble floors and chandeliers that looked like they weighed more than her apartment. Adrian kept his hand on the small of her back as they walked in, and Lena tried not to stare at the people around them. Everyone looked important. Everyone looked like they belonged. And then there was her. Relax, Adrian murmured in her ear. Easy for you to say. You're with me. That's all that matters. She wasn't sure if that made her feel better or worse. They made their way through the crowd, Adrian stopping every few feet to shake hands, exchange pleasantries, introduce Lena as if she were the most natural thing in the world. Some people looked at her with curiosity, others with suspicion, a few with something that looked like pity. Lena hated it. Who are these people? She whispered when they finally had a moment alone. Clients, business partners, people who owe me favors. And the ones who keep staring at me like I don't belong? People who wish they were you. Lena snorted. I doubt that. I don't. They were halfway through the night when it happened. Lena was standing by the bar, waiting for Adrian to finish a conversation with a man in a suit who looked like he'd never smiled in his life, when someone stepped up beside her. You must be Lena. She turned. The woman was older, elegant, with sharp eyes and a smile that didn't reach them. I am, Lena said carefully. I'm Victoria, an old friend of Adrian's. The way she said friend made Lena's stomach twist. Nice to meet you, Lena said. Victoria's smile widened. You're younger than I expected. I'm 28. Exactly, Victoria sipped her champagne. Tell me, how did you two meet? Through a mutual friend, Lena lied. How lovely. And what do you do? I work in marketing. Marketing. Victoria said it like it was a disease. How quaint. Lena felt her jaw tighten. It pays the bills. I'm sure it does. Victoria leaned in slightly, her voice dropping. A word of advice, dear. Men like Adrian don't keep women like you around for long. Enjoy it while it lasts. Lena's heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. Women like me? You know what I mean. I really don't. Victoria's smile turned cold. Of course you don't. She walked away before Lena could respond. Lena stood there, her hands shaking, her face hot. Adrian appeared a moment later, his hand on her arm. You okay? Fine. Lena, I said I'm fine. He studied her face. What happened? Nothing. Just met one of your friends. Who? Victoria. Adrian's expression darkened. What did she say to you? Nothing important. Lena. She said I wouldn't last. That you don't keep women like me around. Adrian's jaw tightened. She's wrong. Is she? Yes. How do you know? Because I'm not letting you go. He pulled her closer, his voice low. I don't care what she said. I don't care what anyone says. You're mine. And I don't give up what's mine. Lena's breath caught. Adrian, let's get out of here. We can't just leave. Watch me. And he did. They left the gala early, Adrian's hand tight around hers, his expression so dark that no one dared to stop them. In the car, Lena finally let herself breathe. I'm sorry, Adrian said. For what? For bringing you into this. For making you deal with people like Victoria. It's fine. It's not. Adrian, I knew what I was signing up for. No, you didn't. She looked at him. Then tell me. Tell me what I'm really getting into. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, there are people who don't like me. People who would use you to get to me. People who would hurt you just to prove they could. Lena's stomach dropped. Are you saying I'm in danger? I'm saying I won't let you be. That's not the same thing. I know. Adrian, I have people watching you all the time. You're never alone. I made sure of that. Lena stared at him. You're serious. I'm always serious when it comes to you. She didn't know what to say. Adrian's hand found hers. If you want out, now's the time. I'll make sure you're safe, but I'll walk away. Just say the word. Lena looked at him, at the man who'd turned her life upside down and refused to let her fall. I'm not going anywhere, she said. You should. But I'm not. Adrian pulled her close, kissed her hard, and Lena knew she'd just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. But she didn't care. The next day, Adrian's phone rang while they were having breakfast. He looked at the screen and his expression changed, went cold. I have to take this, he said, standing. Lena watched him walk into the other room, his voice low, clipped. She couldn't hear what he was saying, but she could tell it wasn't good. When he came back, his face was unreadable. What's wrong? Lena asked. Nothing you need to worry about. Adrian, I have to go. Stay here. What? Why? Because I need to know you're safe. Safe from what? He didn't answer. Just kissed her forehead, grabbed his jacket, and left. Lena sat there, staring at the door, her stomach in knots. Something was wrong. She tried calling him. No answer. She texted him. Nothing. An hour passed. Then 2. Her phone finally buzzed. Adrian, stay inside. Don't answer the door for anyone. Lena, what's going on? Adrian, I'll explain later. Just stay inside. Lena's hands were shaking. She paced the apartment, her mind racing. What the hell was happening? Was he in danger? Was she? At 4 in the afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Lena froze. Miss Carter? A voice called. Male. Unfamiliar. She didn't answer. Miss Carter, my name is Carter. I work for Mr. Voss. He sent me to bring you somewhere safe. Lena's heart was pounding. She looked through the peephole. The man on the other side was the same one she'd met at dinner, Adrian's associate. She opened the door a crack, the chain still on. Where's Adrian? She asked. Dealing with a situation. He asked me to take you to a secure location until it's resolved. What situation? I can't discuss it here, but we need to leave. Now. Lena hesitated. Carter's expression softened. Miss Carter, I understand you're scared, but Mr. Voss made it very clear that your safety is the priority. If you trust him, you need to trust me. Lena took a breath. Then she grabbed her phone and her jacket and followed Carter out. They took a car to a building she didn't recognize. It looked like a hotel, but the lobby was empty, the front desk unmanned. Carter led her upstairs to a suite on the top floor. "You'll be safe here," he said. "No one knows about this place except Mr. Voss and myself." "How long do I have to stay here?" "Until he says otherwise." "That's not an answer." "It's the only one I have." Carter left, and Lena was alone. She tried calling Adrian again, still no answer. She sat on the couch, her mind racing, her chest tight. What had she gotten herself into? Hours passed. The sun set. The city lit up outside the window, and then, finally, the door opened. Adrian walked in, and Lena's breath caught. He looked like he'd been through hell. His shirt was untucked, his tie gone, a bruise darkening along his jaw. "Are you okay?" Lena asked, rushing to him. "I'm fine." "You're bleeding." "It's not mine." Lena's stomach dropped. "Adrian, what happened?" He pulled her into his arms, held her so tight it hurt. "It's over." "What's over?" "The threat. It's handled." "What threat?" Adrian pulled back, his hands on her face. "Someone tried to get to me through you. They found out about us. Thought they could use you as leverage." Lena felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. "What?" "They were wrong. I made sure of it." "Adrian, you're safe. That's all that matters." "That's not all that matters." "What did you do?" "What I had to." Lena stared at him. At the bruise on his jaw, the blood on his knuckles, the look in his eyes that told her he'd done something he couldn't take back. "You killed someone," she whispered. Adrian didn't deny it. Lena's knees went weak. She sat down hard on the couch, her hands shaking. "Lena, you killed someone because of me. I killed someone because they were going to hurt you. That's not better." "It is to me." She looked up at him. I told you I'm not a good man. I told you my world is dangerous. But I also told you I'd protect you. And I meant it." Lena's chest was so tight she could barely breathe. "I didn't want this. I know. I didn't ask for this. I know that too." She put her head in her hands. "I should leave." "Then leave." She looked up at him. "What?" "If you want to go, go. I won't stop you, but you need to know something first." He crouched down in front of her, his hands on her knees. "I love you. I didn't plan to. I didn't want to. But I do. And that means I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe, even if it means doing things you can't forgive me for." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Adrian? So if you want to leave, leave. But don't leave because you're scared. Leave because you don't want this. Because if you stay, I'm not letting you go. Ever." Lena stared at him, her heart breaking and mending all at once. And then she kissed him, hard, desperate, like she was trying to prove something to both of them. When they broke apart, she whispered, "I'm not leaving." Adrian's eyes closed. "You should." "I know, but I'm not." He pulled her into his arms, and Lena held on, knowing she'd just made a choice she could never take back. But for the first time in her life, she didn't want to. They stayed in the safe house for 3 days. Adrian didn't leave except to make phone calls in the other room, his voice low and controlled, the kind of tone that made Lena's stomach twist even when she couldn't hear the words. She didn't ask what he was doing. She wasn't sure she wanted to know. On the second night, she woke up to find him standing by the window, staring out at the city like he was waiting for something to happen. "Can't sleep?" she asked. He didn't turn around. Never could. Lena got up, wrapped the blanket around her shoulders, and walked over to him. "What are you thinking about?" "How to make sure this doesn't happen again." "Adrian, he had your address, Lena. Your workplace, your schedule. He knew where you'd be and when." Adrian's jaw tightened. "That doesn't happen by accident." "Who was he, Za?" "Someone who thought he could hurt me by hurting you." "Was he right?" Adrian finally looked at her. "What do you think?" Lena's chest tightened. "I think you're going to blame yourself for this no matter what I say. I should have seen it coming. You can't predict everything. I should have predicted this." She stepped closer, her hand on his arm. "You protected me. That's what matters. I put you in danger in the first place. No, he did. Adrian shook his head. You don't understand. This is my world. These are my consequences, and you're the one paying for them. Then let me decide if it's worth it. He stared at her. It's not. That's not your call to make. Lena, I'm here, Adrian. I chose this. I chose you. So stop trying to push me away because you think you're protecting me. His hand came up to cup her face. I don't know how to do this. Do what? Care about someone more than I care about myself. Lena's throat tightened. You're doing fine. I'm not. You are. You're just scared. I'm not scared. Liar. Adrian's mouth twitched, almost a smile. You're impossible. You've mentioned that before. He kissed her then, soft and slow, like he was trying to memorize the shape of her mouth. When they finally pulled apart, Lena whispered, What happens now? Now I make sure no one ever tries this again. How? By ending the problem at the source. Lena's stomach dropped. What does that mean? Adrian's expression went cold. It means I'm going to find the person who gave the order, and I'm going to make sure they understand what happens when they come after what's mine. Adrian, you can't just... Yes, I can. This is insane. This is survival. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him there had to be another way, but the look in his eyes told her there wasn't, or if there was, he wasn't interested in finding it. The next morning, Carter showed up with fresh clothes and a folder thick with documents. Adrian took it without a word, flipped through the pages, his expression getting darker with each one. Who is it? Lena asked. Adrian didn't answer. Carter glanced at her, then at Adrian. Do you want me to... No, Adrian said. I'll handle it. Sir, if I may, you may not. Carter nodded and left. Lena crossed her arms. You're shutting me out. I'm keeping you safe. Those aren't the same thing. They are to me. Adrian, if this involves me, I have a right to know. He closed the folder and looked at her. His name is Dominic Cale. He runs operations on the east side. Drugs, weapons, trafficking. He's been trying to move into my territory for the last year. And he used me to get to you. He tried. What are you going to do? What I should have done a year ago. Lena's pulse spiked. Which is? Remove him. You mean kill him? Adrian didn't deny it. Lena sat down hard on the couch. There has to be another way. There isn't. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Men like Cale don't stop unless you make them stop, and talking doesn't work. So, you're just going to... What? Walk in there and shoot him? No. I'm going to be smarter than that. Adrian. He crouched down in front of her, his hands on her knees. I know this isn't what you want. I know you think there's a better way. But there isn't. Not in this world. And if I don't do this, he'll try again. Or someone else will. And next time I might not get there in time. Lena's eyes burned. I hate this. I know. I hate that you have to do this. I know that too. But you're going to do it anyway. Yes. She looked at him. At the man she'd fallen in love with. The man who'd killed for her and was about to do it again. Promise me you'll come back, she whispered. I promise. Swear it. Lena, swear it, Adrian. His hand came up to cup her face. I swear, I'll come back to you, always. And then he left. Lena spent the next 12 hours pacing the safe house like a caged animal. Carter had stayed behind, standing by the door like a statue, his expression blank. She tried asking him questions, where Adrian was, what he was doing, when he'd be back, but Carter just gave her the same answer every time. He'll be back when it's done. That's not helpful. It's all I can tell you. Lena wanted to scream. She tried calling Adrian, straight to voicemail. She texted him. No response. By hour 10, she was convinced something had gone wrong. By hour 11, she was planning how to get past Carter and go find him herself. And then, at hour 12, the door opened. Adrian walked in, and Lena's knees nearly gave out. He looked exhausted, bruised. There was blood on his shirt, she didn't ask whose, and a cut above his eyebrow that was still bleeding. But he was alive. Lena crossed the room in 3 steps and threw her arms around him. Adrian caught her, held her tight, his face buried in her hair. You're okay, she whispered. I'm okay. You're bleeding. It's nothing. Adrian, I'm fine, Lena. I'm fine. She pulled back just enough to look at him. Is it over? It's over. You're sure? I'm sure. Lena's chest felt too tight. What did you do? What I had to. That's not an answer. Adrian's hands framed her face. Cale won't be a problem anymore. Neither will anyone who worked for him. It's done. How many people? Don't ask me that. Adrian, Lena, please. Don't ask me something I can't answer without making you hate me. Her breath caught. I could never hate you. You say that now. I mean it. He kissed her, hard and desperate, like he was trying to prove something to both of them. When they broke apart, he said, I need to get cleaned up, and then we're leaving. Leaving where? Anywhere but here, Lena didn't argue. They left the city that night. Adrian drove them upstate to a house Lena didn't know he owned. It was tucked into the woods, miles from anything, the kind of place where you could scream and no one would hear you. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like the first time Lena had been able to breathe in days. They spent the next week there, cut off from the world. No phones, no emails, no interruptions, just them. Adrian was different there, quieter, less controlled. He slept more than she'd ever seen him sleep, like his body had finally given him permission to rest. And Lena watched him, memorizing the way he looked when he wasn't carrying the weight of his empire on his shoulders. On the fifth night, they sat on the porch with a bottle of wine, watching the sun set through the trees. I could get used to this, Lena said. Don't. She looked at him. Why not? Because it's not real. This is a break, not a life. It could be. Adrian shook his head. No, it couldn't. Why not? Because men like me don't get to retire, Lena. We don't get happy endings. We get what we can take and hold on to until someone takes it from us. That's depressing. That's reality. Lena set her wine glass down. What if I don't accept that? Then you're going to be disappointed. Or maybe you're wrong. Adrian looked at her. I'm not. You don't know that. Yes, I do. She reached for his hand. Adrian, I know what you do. I know what you've done, and I'm still here. So maybe, just maybe, you're allowed to have something good. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he said, You're the only good thing I've ever had. Lena's chest tightened. Then don't let go. I won't. Promise? I already did. And for the first time since this whole thing started, Lena believed him. They went back to the city a week later. Lena had been dreading it. The return to reality, to Adrian's world, to the constant fear that someone else would try what Cale had tried. But when they pulled up to Adrian's building, something felt different. What's wrong? She asked. Nothing. You're lying. Adrian glanced at her. I'm not taking you back to your apartment. What? Why? Because it's not safe. Not anymore. Adrian, you said it was over. It is, but people know where you live now, and I'm not taking that risk. Lena's stomach dropped. So what? I'm just supposed to move in with you? Yes. You can't just decide that. I already did. Adrian, he turned to face her fully. Lena, I'm not asking. I'm telling you. You're staying with me. Your things are already being moved. You... what? Carter took care of it this morning. Lena stared at him. You had my apartment packed without asking me? Yes. That's insane. That's practical. That's controlling. That's protecting you. Lena wanted to be angry. She should have been furious, but instead she just felt tired. You can't keep making decisions for me, she said quietly. I can when it keeps you alive. That's not how this works. It is in my world. Then maybe I don't want to be in your world. Adrian's jaw tightened. Too late. Excuse me? You're already in it, Lena. You have been since the night you sent me that text. So you can be angry at me for moving your things. You can hate me for making decisions without asking. But you're staying with me. Because if something happens to you, I won't survive it. Lena's breath caught. Adrian's hand found hers. I know I'm not easy. I know I'm too much, but I love you. And that means I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe, even if you hate me for it. Lena looked at him. at the man who turned her entire life upside down and refused to apologize for it. I don't hate you, she whispered. You should. Wait, but I don't. Adrian kissed her, soft and slow and full of things he couldn't say. When they pulled apart, Lena said, If I'm moving in, I have conditions. Name them. I get my own space, a room or an office or something where I can work without you hovering. Done. And you have to tell me when something's wrong. No more shutting me out. Adrian hesitated. Adrian, I'll try. That's not good enough. It's the best I can do. Lena sighed. Fine, but if you lie to me again, I'm gone. You won't leave. Don't test me. His mouth twitched. Wouldn't dream of it. Moving in with Adrian was both easier and harder than Lena expected. Easier because he gave her everything she asked for, a room of her own, space when she needed it, coffee exactly the way she liked it every morning. Harder because living with someone meant seeing all the parts they tried to hide. Like the way Adrian woke up at 3 a.m, drenched in sweat, his hand reaching for the gun he kept in the nightstand. Or the way he'd disappear into his office for hours, coming out with bruised knuckles and a look in his eyes that said he'd done something he couldn't take back. Or the way he'd hold her at night like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to the world. Lena learned to navigate it, learned when to push and when to let him be, learned that loving Adrian Voss meant accepting the darkness that came with him. And she did. Because the truth was, she couldn't imagine her life without him anymore. 3 weeks after they moved in together, Riley finally came over. She took one look at the penthouse and whistled. Well, you've upgraded. Shut up. I'm serious. This place is insane. Riley walked through the living room, running her hand along the back of the couch. Does he have a brother? Riley. What? I'm just saying, if you're going to fall for a dangerous man, at least make sure he's rich. Lena rolled her eyes. You're impossible. And you're living in a penthouse with a man who probably has people killed for a living, so I think we're even. Lena's stomach twisted. He doesn't. Lena, babe, I love you, but don't insult my intelligence. Lena sat down on the couch. It's complicated. I'm sure it is. Riley sat down next to her. But you're happy, right? Yeah, I am. And he treats you well? He does. Then I guess that's all that matters. Riley paused. But if he ever hurts you, I'm calling the cops. Rich and dangerous or not. Lena smiled. Deal. They were halfway through a bottle of wine when Adrian came home. He walked in, saw Riley, and stopped. You must be Riley, he said. Riley stood up, extending her hand. And you must be the guy who had my best friend's apartment packed without asking. Adrian shook her hand. Guilty. Lucky for you, she's happy. Otherwise, we'd have a problem. Noted. Riley grabbed her purse. I'm going to leave you two alone, but Lena, call me tomorrow. I will. Riley hugged her, whispered, He's hot, but terrifying, and left. Adrian looked at Lena. She doesn't like me. She doesn't trust you. There's a difference. Should she? That's up to you. Adrian walked over, pulled her into his arms, and kissed the top of her head. I'll prove it to her. You don't have to prove anything. I do, because she's important to you, and that makes her important to me. Lena's chest felt too full. I love you. Adrian pulled back, his eyes searching hers. Say it again. I love you. Again. Adrian, please. Lena cupped his face. I love you, even when you're controlling and overprotective and impossible. I love you. Adrian kissed her, hard and desperate, like he'd been waiting his whole life to hear those words. And maybe he had. 2 days later, everything fell apart. Lena was at work when Adrian called. Where are you? He asked, his voice tight. At the office. Why? Stay there. Don't leave. I'm sending Carter to get you. Lena's stomach dropped. Adrian, what's happening? Just stay there. I'll explain later. No, explain now. There was a pause. Then Adrian said, Cale had a brother. Lena's blood went cold. What? Dominic Cale had a brother, and he just made a move. What kind of move? The kind that means you're not safe. Adrian, Carter's 5 minutes away. Stay inside. Don't talk to anyone you don't know. And Lena? Yeah. I'm going to fix this. He hung up before she could respond. Lena sat at her desk, her hands shaking, her heart pounding. This wasn't over. It was never going to be over. Carter arrived exactly 5 minutes later, his expression grim. Miss Carter, we need to go. Lena grabbed her things and followed him out. They were halfway to the car when she saw him. A man, standing across the street, watching. Their eyes met, and Lena knew. This was Cale's brother, and he'd found her. Carter saw him the same moment Lena did. His hand went to his jacket, but the man across the street didn't move. Just stood there, watching, like he wanted them to know he was there. Get in the car, Carter said, his voice low and urgent. Lena didn't argue. She climbed into the back seat, her heart hammering so hard she thought it might break through her ribs. Carter got in after her, snapping orders to the driver she couldn't process. The car pulled away from the curb fast enough to make her stomach lurch. Who was that? Lena asked, even though she already knew. Vincent Cale, Carter said. Dominic's younger brother. Is he going to... Not if we get you somewhere safe first. Lena's phone buzzed. Adrian. Adrian. Are you with Carter? Lena. Yes? Adrian. Did you see him? Lena. Yes. There was a pause. Then, Adrian. I'm ending this tonight. Lena's hands were shaking so badly she could barely type. Lena. Don't do anything stupid. Adrian. Too late for that. Lena. Adrian, please. Adrian. I'll see you soon. And then nothing. Lena tried calling him, straight to voicemail. Damn it, she whispered. Carter glanced at her in the rearview mirror. He'll be fine, Miss Carter. Mr. Voss knows what he's doing. That's what I'm afraid of. They took her to a different safe house. This one was outside the city, tucked into a neighborhood where every house looked the same and no one asked questions. Carter walked her inside, checked every room, every window, every lock. You'll be safe here, he said. For how long? As long as it takes. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Carter left 2 men at the door, both armed, both silent, and then he was gone too. Lena sat on the couch in the empty house and tried not to fall apart. She'd known this life came with risks. Adrian had told her that from the beginning. But knowing it and living it were two different things, and now she was here, alone, waiting to find out if the man she loved was going to come back or if she'd just watched him walk into something he couldn't walk out of. Hours crawled by. Lena tried to distract herself, turned on the TV, turned it off, paced the living room until her feet hurt, checked her phone every 30 seconds, even though she knew Adrian wouldn't answer. By midnight, she was barely holding it together. By 2 a.m, she'd convinced herself he was dead. And then, at 3, the door opened. Lena was on her feet before she could think, her breath catching in her throat. Adrian walked in. He looked like hell. His shirt was torn, blood splattered across his chest and arms. There was a gash across his cheekbone that was still bleeding, and his knuckles were raw and swollen. But he was alive. Lena crossed the room in 2 steps and threw her arms around him. Adrian caught her, held her so tight it hurt, his face buried in her hair. I'm okay, he said, his voice hoarse. You're bleeding. It's not all mine. Lena pulled back just enough to look at him. Is it over? Adrian's jaw tightened. It's over. Vincent? He won't be a problem anymore. Lena's stomach twisted. What did you do? Adrian cupped her face, his thumb brushing across her cheekbone. What I had to. What I should have done the first time. How many people? Lena, don't. I need to know. No, you don't. Adrian, enough. His voice was sharp, final. It's done. That's all you need to know. Lena stared at him. At the blood on his shirt, the exhaustion in his eyes, the way his hands were shaking even as he held her. You're hurt, she said quietly. I'm fine. You're not. Adrian let out a breath. I will be. Lena took his hand, led him to the bathroom, and made him sit on the edge of the tub while she cleaned the blood off his face. He didn't say anything, just watched her, his eyes tracking every movement like he was trying to memorize it. You scared me, Lena said, dabbing at the cut on his cheek. I know. I thought you weren't coming back. I promised I would. Promises don't stop bullets. Adrian's hand caught her wrist, gentle but firm. I'm here. I'm alive. And it's over. Lena's eyes burned. For how long? What? For how long is it over? Until the next person decides to come after you, the next threat, the next war. Adrian was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, I don't know. That's what I thought. Lena, I can't keep doing this, Adrian. I can't keep waiting to find out if you're going to come home or if someone's going to call me and tell me you're dead. Then don't. Lena pulled her hand back. What? If you can't do this, don't. I told you from the beginning this was what my life looked like. I told you it was dangerous. I told you to walk away. And I didn't. Then what do you want from me? Lena's chest felt too tight. I want you to stop almost dying. I want you to stop putting yourself in situations where I have to wonder if I'm going to see you again. Her voice cracked. I want a life with you that doesn't involve me sitting in a safe house wondering if you're alive. Adrian stood, his hands framing her face. I can't give you that. Why not? Because this is who I am. This is what I do, and I can't change that. Can't or won't. Both. Lena's tears spilled over. Then what are we doing? Loving each other the best we can. That's not enough. It's all I have. Lena stared at him. At the man who'd saved her, protected her, loved her in the only way he knew how. And she realized something. She could leave. She could walk away, go back to her safe, boring life and pretend this had never happened. Or she could stay. She could accept that loving Adrian meant accepting the danger, the fear, the constant uncertainty. There was no middle ground. I'm not leaving, she said quietly. Adrian's eyes searched hers. You should. But I'm not. Oh, Lena, I'm not leaving you, Adrian. Not now. Not ever. So you can stop trying to push me away. His forehead dropped to hers. I don't deserve you. Probably not. You could do better. I don't want better. I want you. Adrian kissed her, soft and desperate and full of everything he couldn't say. And Lena kissed him back, knowing she'd just made a choice she'd have to live with for the rest of her life. The next morning, Adrian told her the full story. They were sitting on the couch, coffee in hand, the sun streaming through the windows like the world hadn't almost ended the night before. Vincent had a crew, Adrian said, 12 men. He'd been planning this for weeks, waiting for the right moment to make his move. And last night was that moment? He thought so. What happened? Adrian took a sip of his coffee. I got there first. Lena waited. I had people on him the second I found out he existed, tracking his movements, his contacts, his plans. When he made his move, I was ready. And I made sure he understood that coming after you was the last mistake he'd ever make. Lena's stomach twisted. You killed him. Yes. And the others? The ones who didn't run are dead. The ones who did run won't come back. Lena set her coffee down. How can you be so sure? Because I made it clear what happens to people who threaten you. Adrian looked at her. No one's going to try this again, Lena. I made sure of it. By killing them. By protecting you. Lena didn't know what to say. Adrian reached for her hand. I know you don't like this. I know you wish there was another way. But there isn't. Not in my world. And I need you to understand that. I do understand. Do you? Yes. Lena took a breath. I just wish it didn't have to be this way. So do I. But they sat in silence for a while, their hands intertwined, the weight of everything settling between them. Finally, Lena said, What happens now? Now we go home. And then? And then we figure out how to live. Lena looked at him. Just like that? Just like that. It wasn't that simple, of course. Going back to the city meant going back to Adrian's world. The meetings, the calls, the constant hum of danger that never really went away. But it also meant finding a rhythm, a way to exist together that didn't involve safe houses and blood-stained shirts. Adrian gave her space when she needed it. Lena learned when to ask questions and when to let him handle things on his own. They fought sometimes, loud, messy fights about control and trust and the fact that Adrian still made decisions without asking her, but they always came back to each other. Because the truth was, neither of them could imagine a life without the other anymore. 3 months after Vincent Kale, Adrian came home with a small black box. Lena was sitting on the couch, laptop open, working on a campaign that was due the next day. Adrian set the box on the coffee table and sat down next to her. "What's that?" Lena asked, not looking up. "Open it." She glanced at him, then at the box. "Adrian, just open it." Lena closed her laptop and picked up the box. It was velvet, expensive, the kind of box that held something important. She opened it. Inside was a ring, not an engagement ring, just a band, simple, elegant, made of white gold with a single engraving on the inside. Always. Lena's breath caught. "It's not a proposal," Adrian said quietly. "It's a promise." "A promise of what?" "That I'm not going anywhere. That no matter what happens, you're mine and I'm yours. That I will protect you, love you, and fight for you until the day I die." Lena's eyes filled with tears. "Adrian, you don't have to wear it if you don't want to, but I needed you to have it. I needed you to know." Lena pulled the ring out of the box and slid it onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "How did you know my size?" "I pay attention." She looked at him, at the man who'd turned her life upside down and refused to let her fall. "I love you," she said. "I know." "Say it back." Adrian smiled, small, real, the kind of smile she didn't see often enough. "I love you, Lena Carter, more than I've ever loved anything in my life." Lena kissed him, soft and slow and full of promise. And for the first time since this whole thing started, she felt like maybe they were going to be okay. 6 months later, Adrian took her on a date. Not to a fancy restaurant or a gala, or anywhere that required bodyguards and bulletproof glass. Just a park, a quiet one on the edge of the city, where the trees were thick enough to block out the noise and the benches were old and worn and perfect. They walked hand in hand, not saying much, just existing together. When they sat down, Adrian pulled something out of his pocket. Another box. Lena laughed. "You have a thing for boxes." "Apparently." She opened it. Inside was a key. "What's this for?" she asked. "The house upstate. The one we stayed at after Kale." Lena looked at him. "You're giving me a key?" "I'm giving you a choice." Adrian took her hand. "I know my life isn't easy. I know it's dangerous and messy and not what you signed up for. But I also know I don't want to do any of it without you." Lena's chest felt too full. "I can't promise you a normal life," Adrian continued. "I can't promise you safety or peace or any of the things you deserve. But I can promise you me, all of me, for as long as you'll have me." Lena's eyes burned. "Is this a proposal?" "Not yet, but it's close." She laughed through her tears. "You're impossible." "You've mentioned that before." Lena looked at the key in her hand, at the ring on her finger, at the man sitting next to her who'd given her everything he had. "I don't need a normal life," she said quietly. "I just need you." Adrian's hand cupped her face. "You have me. You've always had me. Then ask me." "Ask you what?" "You know what." Adrian smiled. And then right there on a park bench in the middle of nowhere, he got down on one knee. "Lena Carter," he said, his voice steady. "Will you marry me?" Lena didn't even hesitate. "Yes." Adrian kissed her, and for the first time in his life, he felt like he'd finally found something worth fighting for, something worth living for. Someone who saw all the darkness in him and chose to stay anyway. The wedding was small, just Riley, Carter, and a handful of people Lena had never met, but Adrian trusted with his life. They got married in the house upstate, the same one they'd hidden in after the world had tried to tear them apart. Lena wore a simple white dress. Adrian wore a suit. And when he slipped the ring on her finger, his hands didn't shake. "I love you," he said. "I love you too." And that was it. No grand speeches, no dramatic vows. Just two people who'd found each other in the worst possible way and decided to build something beautiful out of it. Life didn't get easier after that. Adrian's work didn't stop. The danger didn't disappear. There were still nights when he came home late, still mornings when Lena woke up alone. But there were also mornings when she woke up to him making coffee. Nights when they sat on the couch and talked about nothing. Moments when he looked at her like she was the only thing in the world that mattered. And Lena learned that love wasn't about finding someone perfect. It was about finding someone who was willing to fight for you, to protect you, to stand beside you even when the world was falling apart. Adrian wasn't perfect, neither was she, but they were perfect for each other. And that was enough. Years later, Lena would look back on the night she sent that text to the wrong number and wonder what would have happened if she hadn't, if she'd double-checked the contact, if she'd waited until morning, if she'd never heard Adrian's voice on the other end of the line. Would she have stayed with Marcus? Would she have found someone else? Would she have spent the rest of her life wondering what she was missing? She didn't know, but she did know this. Loving Adrian Voss had been the most terrifying, dangerous, impossible thing she'd ever done. And she wouldn't change a single second of it, because sometimes the wrong number is exactly the right one. Sometimes a mistake is the beginning of something you didn't know you needed. And sometimes love doesn't look like what you thought it would. It's messy and complicated and full of sharp edges. But it's real, and real is always better than perfect. Lena learned that the hard way, but she learned it with Adrian by her side, and that made all the difference.